Now in this set of lessons, since we've looked at that real estate data set, let's look at lesson 3, where we're going to build our first machine learning model. If you pop over to the actual notebook that you can copy into your own Kaggle account, you will notice that gets you started with the preparation for creating a machine learning model. When you first signed up for this course, I'm sure you thought, "Oh, this is awesome. I'm going to learn AI and all these things." Finally, now we get to the point in the course where we start to learn how to train a model and then use that model to predict things. So let's get started with that. If you load, once again, the Pandas library, the data frame for the Melbourne houses, it has, you can see here the columns that they've outputted here. So you can see the different properties that you have in that data set. After we've loaded this file, what we're going to do with the missing data is we're going to go ahead and drop NA. So if you remember from a section about missing data, there's different ways to handle it. Sometimes you can fill those gaps. Sometimes you just drop the data. So access equals 0 means we're going to drop the houses that don't have the data from all of the columns. We're only going to look at the houses that have data from all columns. Drop NA equals with access equals 0 does that for us. Then we can go get into the preparation for the model training. So the first thing we're going to do is set the prediction target. So we want to predict price. Here you can see that Melbourne _ data dot price. So this is pulling out that series, that list of prices for all the different houses in the data set and setting it equal to the Y variable. This is what we're trying to predict. What we're going to use to predict that in our model are what's called features. Features are different characteristics of each home that allows the model to be built. In our example before, we saw a tree-based model. We're going to build this model with 5 different features: the rooms, the bathroom, the land size, the latitude and longitude. So you have basically 3 different attributes about the home itself in terms of maybe how big it is or how big the land is on it. And then latitude, longitude gives a sense of where that home is, in which neighborhood it's basically in. So if we create a list of those features, and then we can create a variable called X, which is pulling out these individual columns into that variable. Let's take a look and see what's inside these. We have X is the different attributes or features that we're going to use in the model. We're using .describe to see the range of values that we have for these. We can also just look at the top 5 in this list. They look similar. We just verify and spot that, check that. The prediction price is another column here. That's our Y-axis. And what we're going to do is use the X and Y variables to do various parts of the machine learning process. We're going to use a scikit-learn library. Scikit-learn is a huge library full of all different kinds of machine learning models that we can use in Python, and it works very well with pandas. The first step we would do is define the model, fit the model, predict the model, and evaluate the model. And in this lesson, the first thing we're going to do is define and fit the models. If we execute this line of code, what has happened is we're using a decision tree regressor. So it's a scaled up, sort of fancier version of the example that we saw in the previous lesson. Random state equals 1 is just an attribute which indicates that if you run it multiple times, you're going to get the same results. So it's replicatable amongst people. You could pass off this model and people could reproduce exactly what you have. So we define it. This is a model that's from scikit-learn, and then we use the .fit function, and we pass X, which is the feature data set, and then Y, which is your predictor, what you're trying to predict. And so when I ran that, it went and fit the model. It basically created this tree that you can use to make predictions. So we can see exactly, what those predictions look like through the third step, which is prediction, by using the .predict function of scikit-learn of this particular model. If we run this, what's going to happen is it's going to give us for the first 5 feature sets, the rooms, bathroom, land size, latitude, longitude, and then it goes in and uses that feature list to feed into .predict to basically predict how much each of these houses would cost. So a 2-bedroom house with 1 bathroom on a land size of 156 at this particular latitude longitude, looks like latitude and longitude are exactly the same for the top 5 rows, is going to be approximately a little bit over $1 million, looks like $1 million. Something with 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms, little bit smaller is going to be 1.4 million. So you can see basically that decision tree that was built by scikit-learn and pandas is creating these predictions. To dive more into model building exercises to solidify this knowledge, you can do that. And then we'll continue this understanding of what happened in that training and prediction process in the upcoming lessons.